In 2005, the total plastic spend was 150 billion. That was up 5% on the year before. Credit card growth has remained the same. The biggest increase in that growth was on debit cards. There was a 9% increase in 2005 from 2004 on the debit card spend. The figure for that in 2005 was £89 billion spent on debit cards compared to 61 billion spent on credit cards. Well, plastic card usage have always been growing, and at the end of 2005 we saw that plastic card spending outstripped cash for the first time. The reason for that is that people find it easier to use. Certainly with the introduction of chip and PIN, they find it quicker and much more safe and secure, knowing that if their card was lost or stolen, then they wouldn't have to be liable for any fraud on that. However, if cash was stolen, obviously that's lost. So people find it a much safer and securer way to go shopping. Well, debit cards have been around for about 20 years, so there's a whole generation that have grown up knowing to use their debit card and preferring to use it over cash. And certainly people are wanting to keep tracks on their finances a little bit better, so they're choosing to use a debit card over a credit card because obviously they can only use the money that's in their account rather than going into debt. Certainly people are aware of credit. We have, as an industry, worked to ensure that people know what they are getting, what credit cards are out there in terms of responsible borrowing. But certainly the banking industry isn't in a position to lend to people that can't repay, so it's a matter of responsible lending as well. So there are industry initiatives out there to ensure that people know what credit cards are on the market in terms of summary boxes, which is to explain when you receive your statement in what all the charges are, what APRs are, explaining what things mean to enable people to know exactly what they're paying, what charges are up front and how to repay. The number of people who are paying off their full balance each month has grown year on year. 59% of people now pay off their full balance each month, and in fact in terms of being given credit, a third of all applications for credit was actually turned down. So it shows that the banking industry is looking at people who can afford and will lend to people who can afford to repay. Well, certainly credit cards contribute to the level of debt that the UK has, but in comparison to other forms of lending such as mortgage and loans, it is still quite a small percentage. The industry endeavours to ensure that people know what they need to do should they find themselves in a problem with debt. Seek help, speak to your bank first of all, and also speak to other organisations out there who can possibly help you manage your debt. So if you do find yourself in difficulty, then certainly don't hide your head in the sand. Do seek help, and the industry is working with other organisations to ensure that that help is available. The average outstanding amount on a credit card in 2005 was £1,879, and 59% of people pay off the full balance in full each month, and that is increasing year on year, showing how people know what they need to do to ensure that their debt doesn't spiral out of control. Well, the biggest change to plastic payments in the UK came about with the introduction of chip and PIN. It was a massive undertaking that cost the retail and banking industry over £1 billion to introduce. That has been a success in fighting card fraud. What we're going to see now is this technology being used in another environment, say the online environment, where chip and PIN currently can't have an impact. That is, using the chip and PIN technology to ensure that card payments online and over the telephone can also be secure and safe using the same sort of technology. And certainly we're looking at ways in which mobile payments using mobile phones can become involved, and certainly contactless payments, whereby in the future you may well even have a chip in your arm which then verifies any payments. But obviously that's a long way in the future, but technology is evolving all the time, and the banking industry is keen to ensure that the cardholders' safety and security is its priority.